The way I see it is more like, yeah, this is a responsibility. Plus,
Marianne
I
Erickson
think
lives
that
in downtown San Diego and says she would happily use a contact tracing app on her phone.
if the government really wanted to track me, they could. And in this case, I see it more as they're tracking because it's going to help all of us.
But not everyone agrees.
Nope. I would not.
Khalid Alexander lives in southeast San Diego.
For me, it's like combining the two things that I kind of distrust the most or have a healthy distrust of the most: government and technology.
Contact tracing, tracking infected people to see who they've been in contact with, will likely be a crucial component to reopening society. And some governments are counting on using smartphone apps to do a lot of this work for them. But it's far from certain whether enough people will agree to use the apps to make them effective. Still, plans are underway. San Diego County is considering an app, as is California. All of the apps, which operate on technology from Google and Apple, would likely use Bluetooth, not GPS, to determine who you've been in contact with. Then, if you were infected, you could choose to send an alert to all those contacts.
It's crazy. It makes sense to install this for everybody because you're going to get something out of it. You're going to find out who you came into contact with that might have infected you. So even if you're a very selfish person, you probably should install this. But when it comes time when you find you have been infected and it comes time to send that notice, well, for the selfish person, you kind of say, well, what do I get out of that? Nothing. And I might get hassled. Somebody might figure out that it was me and call me up and yell at me. So a lot of people could just say no. I'm just not sure we should give people that option.
In fact, Baker thinks the government should make the apps mandatory.
2 months ago, if you had said, do you think the government should be able to tell you to stay home, lose your job, and never leave the house for a month? You would have said, no, that's just a complete violation of every civil liberty an American has. And we would never do that. And now we're accepting it, more or less, because the alternative is worse.
There is a tendency in moments like this to say, well, do something. And there's, in particular, a tendency to say, Silicon Valley, nerd harder and come up with the magic app that is going to save us from this situation. And when the proposal for the magic app is inherently intrusive of privacy.
Schwartz also has concerns about abuse. Police could use apps to track people, or employers could use them to find unionizing efforts.
We are all too familiar with the norm that government faced with a crisis seizes new surveillance powers, and when the crisis abates, they keep those surveillance powers. So here we are 2 decades after the 9/11 attacks, and the NSA internet spying program that was adopted within months of 9/11 is very much still in place.
That resonates with Khalid Alexander.
We're not far off from when, we'd have FBI surveillance and people going into mosques and following and harassing Muslims for no other reason than being Muslim.
He would happily talk to a contact tracer on the phone, but would definitely not install a contact tracing app. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.